Hello everyone, welcome to Simpson Notches. This is a platform dedicated to all aspiring fashion designers and pattern cutters. From our beginners to advanced level tutorials, we've got you sorted. So, if you've not yet subscribed, please don't forget to do so and remember to like and share. Without any further ado, let us get started on what we have for you today. Welcome back. These are the tools that we need for today's tutorial. With me here, I have got my basic bodies block. Remember, this basic bodies block has been previously drafted on this channel. If you want to learn more about how we drafted this block, make sure to hit the link on the screen. I have got my pattern paper, I've got my L square ruler, I have got my straight ruler, I've got my measuring tape, I've got my sewing pins, paper weight, paper scissors, pencil, tracing wheel, notcher, masking tape, permanent marker. Just a side note, in case you are wondering why we are using a permanent marker, the reason being is just for demonstration purposes. If you want to pattern draft, make sure to use your pencil. Do not use a permanent marker while drafting. Again, this is for demonstration purposes. Welcome back. So if you've got your pattern blocks ready, it is time to get them out. Again, if you want to learn how to draft this basic bodies block, make sure to hit the link on the screen or down the description section, and that will take you straight to the video. Now that we have our blocks ready, let us get the important measurements for our basic shirt block. First thing first, we need to get our horizontal and vertical measurements recorded. And this is going to represent the length and the width of our basic shirt block. Starting off, we are going to take the vertical measurement. And by doing so, we need to get our basic bodies block, which is the front pattern. Once we have that, we are going to start from the neck point down to the waistline. Once we have that, we are going to add 20 centimeters to that measurement. Please note that in this video, I am going to be using centimeters as my format for measuring. And also please note, in this tutorial, we are using a UK size 10 block, which is a sample size. Next, we need to take down the horizontal measurement. In order for us to get the horizontal measurement, we need to refer to our basic block again. This time, we are going to measure along the bust line for the front and back of our basic bodies block. Once we have both measurements, we need to add them together and add 10 centimeters. Now that we've got all the measurements sorted, which is the horizontal and vertical measurement, we are going to go ahead to form a box kind of shape for our pattern. This is a permanent marker and it shouldn't be used to draft your patterns. I am using this for demonstration purposes. First, we are going to square across the horizontal line for our basic shirt block using the horizontal measurement that we've just measured. And once that is done, we are going to go ahead to draw in our vertical line using the vertical measurement that we've previously measured. And once that is done, we are going to use those measurements to form a box shape, like so. Once you have that done, the next thing you need to do is to make sure you have all your points written down. I have point 1 to 2 and 3 to 4. Next, we need to mark in our waistline for our shirt block. From the base of our pattern, which is the hemline, we are going to measure upwards 20 centimeters, and that will serve as the waistline for this pattern. Once you're done marking that, you need to mark that as 0.5. For 0.6, we're going to repeat the same step. Now that we have 0.6, we are going to join both points together using our ruler. Once that is done, we are going to refer back to our front bodies block, but this time we are going to measure from the neck point down to the bust line. This measurement is needed for the shirt block bust line. Starting from the center back, we're going to use our previously measured bust line depth used to mark in the new points. So this is point 7, and here we have point 8. As usual, we're going to join both points together using our ruler. So now we have all the points needed for the foundation of our pattern. Once that is done, we need to make sure we've got the shoulder line, the bust line, the waistline, and as well as the hemline. Next, we need to align our basic bodies block onto our new pattern. By doing so, you want to make sure that your basic bodies block is well aligned at the bust line onto the bust line on your pattern paper, like so. You're going to repeat the same step for the back pattern, and once that is done, you're going to trace round this block. You want to make sure your pattern blocks are well aligned onto the center back and the center front of your new pattern. Once you're happy with that, make sure to trace all the information from your pattern blocks onto your pattern paper. Now we are done tracing off our pattern blocks onto our pattern paper. The next step is to mark in point 9 and point 10. In order for us to do this, we need to get our measuring tape or our ruler. From the back shoulder point, we need to extend by 1 centimeter. So once that is done, we are going to mark that as point 9. We're going to repeat the same step for the front shoulder point. And once that is done, that is going to be marked as point 10. Next, we need to mark in point 11 and 12. We're going to start again from the back pattern. Starting from the underarm point, we're going to mark downwards 1 centimeter. Once that is done, we are going to mark from that point 1 centimeter outwards. And that point is point 11. Next, we need to mark in point 12. Again, we are going to mark downwards 1 centimeter from the front armhole point and extend again by 1 centimeter outwards. And that point is point 12. Now we need to join point 9 to point 11 for the back pattern and point 10 to point 12 for the front pattern. This is going to serve as our new armhole for our shirt pattern. With my pattern master, I am going to draw in the new armhole using dotted lines or dash lines. For the next step, we need to draw in our side seam line. I am using my L-square ruler. Feel free to use whatever straight ruler you've got. So once I have that, starting from the bust line, I am going to square down the side seam line, just a straight line. And I'm going to repeat the same step for the front side seam. Now that we've got both our side seams drawn in, we're going to label those points. Here we've got point 13, and here point 14. We've got point 15 and point 16. So those are all the points for the side seam. From point 13, we are going to measure 2.5 centimeters inwards. And this is used to shape in our shirt block. We're going to repeat the same step for the front pattern. 2.5 centimeters inwards. And next, using our pattern master or any curve ruler you've got, we are going to shape in the side seam line. Now we are done with that. We're going to go to the front pattern and measure 2 centimeters downwards. And this will serve as our new bust point. Once we have that, we're going to square down a straight line to the waistline. And from the waistline, we are going to measure 10 centimeters downwards. And once that is done, you're going to form your front dart. Next, we need to close in the shoulder dart. In order for us to do that, we're going to place our ruler on the front armhole notch towards the bust line, just like so. So once it's placed correctly, you are going to use dotted lines or dash lines to indicate our new line. So we're going to trace off this pattern. I am going to use freehand strokes to differentiate this pattern from the rest. So once I'm done with that, I am going to trace off this shaded pattern. So now I have gone ahead to get a fresh pattern sheet and place that over the shaded part. Once that is done, I am going to get my tracing wheel and use that to trace the shaded area. So you want to be careful at this point. So once that is done, I'm going to get my ruler to make sure all the lines are correctly done. Once I am done tracing off the shaded pattern, I am going to go ahead and use my paper scissors to cut this shape out. Now that you have the cut out shaded part, you are going to place that cut out shaded part onto the previously shaded area. Using one of your fingers to secure the pattern, you're going to slide the pattern towards the center front, like so. Once that is steered to the front, you're going to use your masking tape to secure that new pattern. Once it's completed, your pattern should look like this. This is to indicate that the front shoulder dart is being closed. As you have noticed, the front shoulder dart being closed has created a bust dart for our pattern. What we need to do is to get out our ruler to reinforce the bust dart. As you can see, the lower bust dot line is measured longer than the top bust dot line. In order for both dot lines to be measured exactly, we need to make sure we add the difference from the lower bust dot line measurement onto the top bust dot line measurement. Now that we are done drafting our basic shirt block, what I am going to do next is to transfer this pattern onto a card paper, as I will be using this pattern for various shirt styles. However, if you are using this for a one-off style, make sure to copy this pattern on a normal pattern paper. If you want to know the difference between pattern pieces and pattern blocks, please refer to the video on the screen or down the description section. In order for me to get the right amount of paper to cut out, I am going to measure my pattern, and this is going to be done horizontally and vertically in order for me to get the width and the length of my pattern. And also, this is to encourage sustainability when it comes to pattern cutting. And by doing so, you want to make sure you know the exact amount of pattern paper needed for your pattern blocks. Please note, before tracing off your patterns onto your pattern block, you want to make sure that all the markings on your patterns are corrected. Here I have noticed that my front waist dart needs shaping up. What I need to do is to get my ruler to make sure that I reinforce the new dart, connecting all the lines to the new dart position. So from this point, I am going to measure 0.3 to 0.5 centimeters inwards, and I'm going to repeat the same on the other side. And once that is done, I am going to use my curve ruler or my pattern master to shape in that point. So I'm going to repeat this step for the back pattern as well. The whole point is to make sure we soften the edges of the darts using a curve ruler or a French curve. Once we are done and making sure that we have all our patterns corrected, we can go ahead to transfer our patterns onto our pattern blocks. And this is the final look. Now, in order for us to complete this pattern, you need to make sure you click on the link, and that will take you to the next video on how to create a front placket or a button stand. Until the next video, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to click on the link to take you to the next phase.